Hi, this is Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming in with another podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We love you guys in the audience. You guys are always wonderful being here. Be sure to refer the podcast to your friends, neighbors, relatives, dogs, mistresses, pool boys, all that sort of good stuff. Let them listen to the show as well so they can be whatever, I don't know. Go to iTunes and subscribe there. Go to Google Play. Go to patreon.com/Chris Voss. Support the show. Go to YouTube and hit that bell notification. Please, I'm begging you for the love of God. Go to YouTube and hit the bell notification button so you get notifications for all the new shows that we do as they come out. Well, we're going to have some excellent guests in 2018 because God knows those guys in 2017 were also excellent guests. I've got a wonderful guest here today, and this man is awesome. His name is Phil Singleton, and Phil's got a wonderful bio here. Let's go ahead and read this thing. He is a web designer. Wow, who saw that coming? SEO expert and award-winning author. This is the important part. He, since 2005, Phil has owned and operated a digital agency based in Kansas City that has wonderful barbecue ribs. In 2016, not his agency, but the city. In 2016, Phil and John Janst of Duct Tape Marketing, you've heard of that guy. This guy's rock. He co-wrote SEO for Growth, the ultimate guide for marketers, web designers, and entrepreneurs. I'm sure it's available on Amazon. It's a bestseller as well and has been listed as the top marketing book by Mashable, Oracle, and Huffington Post, if you ever heard of those outlets. And it's also been featured on MSNBC. There you go. MSNBC. And Search Engine Journal, and was named by Forbes as the #1 SEO book on its list of essential SEO books for every startup to read in 2017, or you'll be a moron. No, I added that last part. Phil, welcome to the show, buddy. How's it going?
Great. How you doing? Glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Sorry for butchering your bio, but I just kind of spunked it up, gave a little bit of spice there.
It worked. Appreciate that.
Kansas City. I once I read that, my stomach went over and thought barbecue.
Yeah, so, we got it. In fact, you just kind of turned me on. After this, I might have to.
Yeah, my nipples are hard right now thinking about the Kansas barbecue.
Awesome.
You guys have
some Doesn't for some people know that
out there. Yeah. If I get really quiet for a while, I'm kind of just anyway. I'm kind of going kind of Louis C.K. on the whole thing. Thinking about barbecue. So, Phil, give us your plug so people can plug your show while they're thinking about Kansas City barbecue.
Yeah, well, I got a couple of things to promote, I guess. I mean, one's the book. We've got our own official book website at SEOforgrowth.com. And it's a great place to go to get the book, but not only get the book, we offer a 3 ebook bundle, and the other ebooks that are in there we give away for free are from some pretty popular guys in the digital space. One's from this guy, Larry Kim of WordStream, which is, I think, the biggest PPC agency that we have out there. So it's a great book that he gave. You want to learn some hints and things about how to get optimized, maybe an AdWords campaign, if you guys, if anybody out there is doing that. Then we have another book by the guys at Yoast. If you're into WordPress or a WordPress website, there's a very popular plugin called Yoast SEO, and they gave us a very detailed ebook for free to bundle with our book that tells you how to optimize your website. And then I've got another one that's in that bundle that's called Local SEO. It's about a 50-page ebook that shows you some kind of simple hacks to go in there and help you raise your presence with local searches if you have to have a local business. So it's kind of nice to be able to go to our site, buy the book, buy it up on Amazon, put the purchase key up in there, download these other 3 books for free, and you get it's a nice bundle to go up there. So that's SEO for Growth.
So you get some free books and get the book from you guys and all that good stuff. So go to the website and check it out. Where else can we find you on the interwebs so people can follow you?
I'll give you a little bit about my story, but the initial thing that got me started into web design SEO, which after age 30, was kcwebdesigner.com. I'd love to tell you how I went from a miserable person in an insurance industry in a soul-crushing cubicle job to having my own agency right now.
Nice.
This is coming from a guy that almost flunked out of computer science class in college. So that's kcwebdesigner.com. And I've also got a couple other things I'll mention during the show that have really kind of spun off from things that we were talking about in the green room of podcasting and working on blogging strategies and trying to wrap all this stuff up together. Because I'm one of these guys I wouldn't necessarily call me lazy, but I like to do things once and get as many benefits as possible out of them. So I don't know if you call that a cheat or a hack or what have you, but I have cracked the code on some of this stuff, where you could maybe start off with a little blogging strategy and roll it into 10 other things, and benefits that way. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too.
Yeah, automation is awesome, and being able to, I mean, I learned that a long time ago in business. The least amount of work that you can do with the most amount of results, and sometimes getting other people to do your work, it definitely is an important factor. Anytime you can exponate yourself and your workload to the highest ROI, return on investment, then that's huge. So tell us more about you. What got you here? It sounds like you went through a bit of a journey, and some of the success you've found since, and how you pulled it off.
So I went to school for finance and business, rolled out of college, and I felt pretty lucky at the time because the job market wasn't great. But I landed in this insurance job, and I was there for about 3 or 4 years. Right out the bat, happy to have a paycheck and be able to kind of be semi-independent, but pretty quickly, at the end of the third, fourth year, I was like pretty miserable, looking at the clock, wanting to do something else. But I think looking back, I was more looking at like, geez, I'm in this cubicle. Everything is beige around here. Some guys have been there doing it for like 20, 30 years. And I was like, this is just not me. And then all of a sudden you think you're sitting here learning this skill, and it gets harder and harder. It feels like it's harder and harder to maybe pull yourself out of that destiny that feels like maybe it's somebody else's life you're leading. Anyway, so what ended up happening, for whatever reason, I just really felt this wasn't for me, but I didn't really have anything to jump out of. I didn't want to jump into another insurance job. So I literally, over the course of a 2-week period, just said, I'm going to do something very drastic and change my destiny. Packed up my bags, and I moved to Asia. Literally in 1 week, I did it. 2 weeks later, I was moved out, sold everything, and moved to Taiwan. And that did change things. It really put me on the path I'm where I is today. And it changed, I think, everything. I met my wife, eventual wife, who's Taiwanese. And I just kind of went on this adventure that really set the course for everything that I'm doing. And I really felt like that one point of making this drastic change, bursting out of the bubble I was in, changed everything. But also, I have no regrets in doing it. I don't look back and say, geez, that was a bad move.
I wish I could go back to that cubicle, like office space.
Man, you can imagine I could have changed that adventure into Asia, and I could have been sitting in a job for the last 20 some odd years. And
I remember we started building our companies huge, and I hated cubicle life, so I started my own companies. But then we started expanding, and so we had to build cubicles in these different offices we've had. Because most of the offices we'd have were these huge expanses, and you had to make offices. But I remember buying the cubicles, and there were these giant steel things, and I can't remember. There was like a company that was like the dominant company for making cubicles back in the day, and they make these steel cubicles that you could kill someone with if they fell over on them. And, back then we were building our companies, the bootstrapping. And so me and my partner would have to build the cubicles and put them together. And I remember thinking, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm building cages to enslave people.
Yeah,
and
I was thinking, they're like,
and then if I don't
modular jail cells.
Yeah. And if I don't put the screws in right, which I'm really bad at, my partner was really good at building stuff. And he's just like, stop building office equipment, because I build like desks, and then they'd fall over into pieces, and he'd be like, I'm one of those people who I don't do construction for a reason. And so it was always funny, because I'm just like, I'm building cages for people. These cages. I think it was like,
so I guess it's funny. I guess it feels like building them, and sometimes it feels like what you're sitting in is like a human kennel.
Sitting in a cage, and it's that whole experience from office.
I don't want to knock. I mean, there's people in there, and I would do anything like to support my family. If I had to go back and do that, I would do it in a heartbeat. But if you don't have to do it, you're not happy doing it, then, I mean, for me, I took kind of, and then, back then when I jumped out into the world, I felt without a safety net. We didn't have like the gig economy like you have right now. Because I was, gosh, thinking it'd be cool. It would have been cool back then to like cook a couple ideas on the side or after work or whatever.
And even back then, when I had my companies, my big companies, I mean, when you wanted to start a business, you had some hard startup costs. You'd have to buy an office space. You'd have to buy a phone system. You'd have to buy a secretary to sit up front, and you'd have to buy furniture. I mean, now you can build a business online with, I don't know, you give $15 to GoDaddy, and you're fucking, you got a free WordPress, and I'm in business, mommy. Send me make me some lunch and send it down to the basement. So, yeah, I mean, I remember anytime we started a business or we went to a new location, just the hard costs were just enormous. We'd have to have whoever the Ma Bell was come out and lay cable in line for like 100 phone lines. And you'd see them outside, and they're bringing these giant cables, and they're like, oh, we've got to change your wattage and your freaking voltage to 30, it's just insane crap when it came to infrastructure.
I run my whole business almost on Skype now, so it's like, I mean, there's, you know what I mean?
It's being now, like everyone's a CEO of their little business, and you're just like, oh my God. But it is awesome. I do love it because you can work on a virtual net. I mean, when I own my companies, I never ever thought I would sell products internationally or have international clients. And then after starting social media in 2009, I had clients in Australia, South Africa, Japan, and you're just like, this is so weird that this, I can sell products and ebooks anywhere in the world and people are buying them. It was so weird to look at my website and be like, people in France really like reading my website. What the hell's going on there? I don't even talk French, and they're what's going on with those IP addresses? That's awesome. So tell us more. You did the book with John. And I haven't John on the show. I really need to pepper him and get him on the show. He's a great guy, and we're always on like the same influencer list when it comes down to it. What got you, I guess, into John? Is that the next step in your?
Yeah, well, so I was in Asia for that time, and I had a software company. And again, I came into digital marketing as a complete outsider. Insurance, no, I almost flunked out of college. Not college, but out of the course I was in. So the reason I say that is because I really wasn't. I was one of these guys that really wasn't comfortable around a computer or anything. I didn't build my first website until well after age 30. But I did move back from Taiwan. And what ended up happening is move back to Kansas City because that's where I have roots from. And I ended up doing this one barter website for an auto detailer, and then ended up getting it ranked from some of the stuff I learned when I was overseas from some of the jobs I had there. And the guy ended up calling me, my first client on a barter deal for auto detailing. He calls me up like 60 days later and was like, geez, I don't know what you've done, but you've changed my business. You've changed my life. Phone's ringing off the hook. And I was like, finally, age, I don't know what I was in maybe 33, 35. Finally knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Because it was the most rewarding professional, thing that ever had happened to me. But I was also like, I can make money from this. You know what I mean? Because I got the guy ranked and he's willing to pay. It's changing his business. So that one little website, after age 30, that it was a grind for me. I actually made a promise to him I wasn't sure I could keep because I was like, I've never built a website. I was like, I'm going to build you a website. So I figured, you know what? If I can't do it, I'll hire somebody to do it. But I struggled my way through Microsoft Front Page, made the world's ugliest little website, whatever it was, 2005. Didn't matter. It ranked. It was a lot easier back then. Yeah. And then people called off of it. But that's really what happened. So from that point on, from 2005 to about, 2012 or 2012, actually, it was a nice, easy ride. SEO was pretty easy because it was all back office stuff, focus on things on the website, build backlinks, didn't have to have much client interaction. Then Google comes and does their little animal changes with algorithm updates. Basically kills the traditional SEO industry. No more volume-based backlinking. No more hanky-panky on it. They drop these really rigid and very painful and punitive algorithm changes that essentially change the entire business for the good. But I think it was painful for a lot of people then that were just doing pure back office SEO. Then that's where John comes in, because I was like, you know what? They said content was king for a long time, but they didn't really mean it because we didn't have to put any content to rank websites. Then they made these changes. Content really did become king. All of us are getting out there doing blog posts, putting our face on websites, putting ourselves really out there. And I figured at that time, if I'm going to survive, I got to learn marketing better than just this one little technical piece of SEO. And really what SEO's become is holistic marketing. It's about reviews and content marketing and reputation management and web design, all this kind of stuff, really, which starts to look like just marketing when you think about it, versus just link building and on-page SEO stuff. So what ended up happening is I started looking around. I wanted to kind of broaden my sense in terms of holistic marketing. I got attracted to John's book, Duct Tape Marketing, which is a very, it's a famous small business marketing book that really helps people put all the pieces together. And that's how I ended up getting connected with him. I ended up joining his network of certified marketing consultants. There's about 120 of us right now. And just of the course of working with him and sharing my knowledge of SEO with the group, I think I ended up becoming kind of the SEO expert within that community. And he got really comfortable with the things that I've done and kind of the successes that I have with some clients and my willingness to share with his network. And all of a sudden that leaned into a book partnership with him. And that's kind of how I got here today, which has been phenomenal because it's opened up lots of doors for me and really helped me grow my business.
Yeah, writing a book seems to help a lot of people. I need to get off my ass and do one. I keep starting and stopping one and then having some life events that have interfered with that. But what is it? I need to get around to this. Yeah, SEO definitely changed. I remember when I used to get hit up all the time, but like, we want to do a blog post and put backlinks on your thing. And then all of a sudden I started getting calls from everybody going, hey, can we remove those backlinks and go back and I'm just like, you're gonna have to pay me for the backlinks and you're gonna have to pay me to remove them.
Take them off. That's great. That's how crazy it was. But it did, it did that. It really it was very, very painful for a lot of companies, especially companies that were buying it. They didn't know that they were doing things that were shady. So a lot of innocent businesses got hurt because they put their trust in web design. And the guys that were doing the SEO, they were just doing the things that got people ranked. So it's not like they were, and everybody was trying to push the envelope a little bit because back in the day, the reason why Google, I think, did this is it got to a point in the early 2000s where JCPenney was doing it, Overstock.com was doing it, all these mainstream companies. And I think that's when Google said, well, wait a minute, this gray hat stuff is becoming too mainstream. We're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off and it's going to hurt. And it did, but they changed behavior and everything's changed. Things have come back on shore. It's become more of a consulting, type of a thing. People aren't just writing checks. They
still want the money to come to them as opposed to all the consultants. I mean, they wanted more people just to buy AdWords and pay Google for the money. I mean, when you really think about Facebook and Twitter kind of did the same thing. They're like, hey, all these social media people are making money teaching people how to use us. We should just put them out of business and charge people.
Thankfully, organic's still about 80% of the traffic. But I mean, look, Google's, I tell people that come in and talk to us all the time there's a lot of people out there that are still like dipping their toes in digital media. And then I pull up, there's a website called Dogs of the Dow, and they show the market capitalization for the most valuable companies in the world every day. And pretty much every day, it's like the same top 5 companies. It's Apple, it's Google, it's Facebook, it's Amazon, it's Microsoft. And as soon as you look at those 5 companies, it's like, that's the internet and all the content. That's basically where all the action is. You know what I mean? So, but with Google, they're a 700 billion, 700 billion. I can't remember what it is now, but they're one of the most valuable companies in the world. 90% of their value comes from AdWords, and AdWords is really just a cottage industry of organic search, right? Which is amazing. It's not like Google Fiber. It's not, self-driving cars. It's not all these other things that they do. Almost all their money comes from just AdWords. So it's a very, very powerful and lucrative thing for them. But at the same time, most people don't go to Google for the ads. I mean, we know, if you talk to anybody our generation and younger, they're just like, I never click the ads. You know what I mean? Well, somebody's clicking them because they're making a killing off of it. And they certainly, 10 years ago, you saw like 1 or 2 ads. Now it's like half the page is some form of an ad and the organic stuff's down the bottom. But point taken. I mean, that's kind of where things are today.
I mean, the worst ones now that are the most annoying are the video ads that autoplay and stuff. Like I've noticed Facebook in some of their iterations, their A/B testing, they've had ones where I've actually started to have a little video pop up in the left-hand corner of my Facebook, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it's like, one of your friends is starting to play a video, and I'm like, wow, that's a push. And then they've started doing a thing too with some of their A/B testing with me. I've seen it on and off, where if a video is in my news feed that's playing and I page down, they move it up to the side like CNN and some of the other websites do. And you're just like, there's a reason I page down, is because I don't want to hear that blather. But, you know, there's the push and shove and all that sort of good stuff.
That just feels like that's going to get a little more aggressive here pretty soon too with their stuff.
It definitely is. I mean, on CNN, when I page down, or websites like that have that autoplay feature, and then it jams it up in the right corner, I think on CNN, and then it plays, and you're like looking on the website, you're trying to read shit, and it's like blathering about you about stuff. You know, I'm kind of half supportive of advertisements and letting advertisements play. Although I'll still on YouTube, I'll hit the skip all button or skip ad button if I can find it. Some of these websites are getting so good at hiding the close button that you got to look at the ad for half an hour.
And what's the point? I don't really. And it's like you said, some of these news sites, it's almost like your organic piece that you're going after, the little target's getting smaller and all the like noise is still,
Yeah,
it's it almost feels like it's stepping back. Remember the way it was in the beginning, the early internet, where stuff would pop up all over the place, and you'd be like, trying to. It's like going back to that again almost.
It's like whack-a-mole, only now you can't find the mole to whack anymore. There's a couple sites I've gone to. I think it's the New Yorker, and there's a couple other ones that I'm going to lately that the X button is so hidden and so small to close out the ad. And the ad will actually sit there when it gets done playing. And you're just like, how do I freaking read the article, man? And then, it's just,
and they'll be like the ad I've seen on some of them, and then it'll be like white space, and then there'll be a tiny little X. You gotta like look. It is not.
You gotta like look. Yeah, and it's like, and you're just like, it's like a fucking whack-a-mole game without seeing the whack-a-mole or the mole. But
exactly. Your content better be ass good on that stuff. If you're gonna put me through those hoops, otherwise I'm not coming back.
And sites that do that too, as a consumer, I'll be like, fuck you, I'm not coming back. Fuck you. So yeah, it's a real challenge. I mean, I remember getting yelled at by a couple people when my blog started auto-playing videos for YouTube, and I'm like, hey man, this is what I gotta do. It's a real fight between getting support for your content now and being able to deliver it and being able to get paid for it. It's just a real battle. So
you got to get paid. I mean, on one end, it's like you want to get paid, but as the
all these goddamn millennials that want everything fucking for free, it just ruined everything.
Yeah. Thanks, millennials. No, just kidding.
Thanks, millennials. No, in fact, we're having some fun with them in the previous show. We love our millennial audience. They take our abuse. And they get participant points for it as well. Those awards are coming to you in statues.
I tell people all the time with millennials too, because you get some stuff like on LinkedIn or some of the older crowd, and there's some snarky things about like the work ethic. I don't see it like that. I see guys here in Kansas City in the small business thing. Yeah. You get some of these people that are like entrepreneurial, especially in traditional businesses. They're coming in and they're kicking ass because they know they got to invest in a website. They don't do any traditional. You talking to a millennial about like TV advertising or print. They're just like, that's not how we buy, man. Get me a website. Get me on Facebook. Get me on social media. Get me on, what I mean? They just go in and they're like stealing market share away from these guys that are out there that are still, I don't understand why the TV doesn't work like it used to, or my print ads don't. Well, because that's not how people buy. They're coming in just like scooping up. So it's great. I think the stuff that's happening with like Uber and all these other larger companies that have come and turned traditional industries up on their head, Airbnb, it's actually happening at the local level now with traditional companies, with younger millennials coming in and just attacking the traditional businesses because they're digital natives. They don't know any better. All they know is, so if you start talking about marketing, they don't jump, they haven't seen the losses with Yellow. They don't know what Yellow Pages are. You know what I mean? So they put the money where they know it works versus I've got guys that are older that are still like dipping their toes in web or social media.
Well, yeah, they get it too. You don't have to explain what is Twitter.
Right. Why do I got to do this? Why do I have to blog?
I had a client that I was talking to the other day, a potential client that I was bidding on and proposing to. And she's like, yeah, I think all social media is an evil. A necessary evil. And I'm like, I don't know that I call it a necessary evil. I mean, maybe in 2009 I would have, but Now it's just kind of the norm. It's like, if you're not on digital, then good luck with your life.
Give it up to your competitors then.
You know, and the nice thing about millennials is they get it. They're like, this is how I live and spend my money. So at least I know how to build a business for people that want to spend money that way, because I understand it and I have it mastered because I am that consumer. So good for them. I think there's a lot of challenges though coming up for them. You know, YouTube's going through a whole thing where a lot of the millennials that are on there that were making money now are finding that they got to go get real jobs somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, Google's gonna find some ways to.
Hopefully Google does, or somebody else does. I think it's definitely a ripe market for disruption, because YouTube has just been so poorly managed by their female CEO since she came on board, I think 2013, 2014. And sadly, Bryn or whoever it is that runs Google just were like, hey, we know this gal. She's
the YouTuber. Was Nikki? Who's the girl lady at the?
I don't know her name. And I don't think very highly of it either. But she basically rented Bryn and Sergey their garage back in the day.
Right. That's it. That's the one, yeah.
And so they were like, well, you don't know anything about running a video company, but here you go. You get that. And she's just been running YouTube into the ground ever since then. Yeah, I mean, you've seen the rise of Patreon, where people are now getting their money outside it. And once the money switches to outside sources, where people on YouTube are having to go other places for the money, they're going to go other places for their money and their content, like Instagram or whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's given rise to they're just ripe for disruption. And you know, meanwhile, they're giving all the support and programming to their Nazi crazy people that are putting up this content. That's
oh yeah.
I can't believe.
Gosh, when that stuff came out on YouTube, and then all of a sudden they really started, because we did a lot of the display ads that ran through the videos, and all of a sudden they shut all that down, and they just recently started opening it back up. So we're starting to see our ads, because that was like one of the best places to get cheap.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was for a long time. And then they just ruined it. Where they really ruined everything and went bad was, it used to be up until 2013-ish. You had to apply to be a rev share with YouTube. It was controlled, and you had to, you know, you had to actually be a guy who's getting views or being a semi-rock star to be on a rev share. And when they opened it up to everybody and their dog, they just ruined it. And then, you know, every video's got ads and people hate it. And so people aren't watching them, and they just took a giant dump on everything. And that's when even as an advertiser,
those little banners in there, it's a pain. You click through on them on accident because you're trying to close them because it's a little stupid. It's like the advertiser doesn't want that. The user doesn't want to be tricked into going to the thing. It's like, you know,
and then they came with the rich get richer algorithms, where they're just like, let's make you know, certain rock stars and certain people not. And then they wonder how they end up with these racists like DuPie and, you know, and all these problems. And then the recent thing they had with the kids abuse video, family
suicide thing too, that just was out.
You know, and the other idiot millennial who put up the suicide video recently, you know, this from the generation who goes to funerals and goes, hey, let's Instagram a selfie smiling in front of grandma's casket. Right. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
I wonder if people know what they're doing too, and they're just really trying to, like, desperate to keep.
They don't, and we talked about this in the prior podcast. You know, we got this attention deficit / economy, where everyone's trying to do the most craziest, outlandish, stupidest thing for views, likes, and whatever. And now we wonder why we have a president that does the same thing. You know, he's on Twitter trying to make, it's just culture. Not only has it infected our economy, it's affected our politics and our society now, where people are just trying to do the most stupidest things. The recent child thing they got into, where they had these parents that were just psychologically damaging their children with God knows how much scarring, and then putting it on video for all the world to see. And it was just crazy. It came out of the side for me, where I didn't even know what was going on. And then all of a sudden it was coming out that YouTube was shutting these channels down. And then I watched some of the videos and I'm like, there's something really wrong. Not only wrong with the people that would think that it was an appropriate way to raise children, but they're so damn lazy. This is the way they've come up with to try and fund their lives. And the breeding that they're doing is just, it's a new level of insanity. And the fact that could be a norm of reality TV. I mean, we should probably just go kill Mark, what's his face, who created reality TV, because this all comes from him.
Seriously.
I don't know. I'm just joking. So Phil, let's get back into more.
As a parent myself, some of these guys are going to have to exercise a little bit more restraint on this stuff because, you mentioned reality TV, but other things are part of the political and all the stuff that's happening. Part of it's just because they're not restraining it enough. You talk about restraint, people go nuts, but I mean, come on, there's got to be something. I have young kids right now and they're 8. My fear is all this cyberbullying stuff when they're exposed to that. Cause you see, like, that didn't happen when we were young. You didn't have people killing, cause these kids, when they get on, they can't escape. You know, when you get bullied at school before, you could go home and have at least, I guess, 16 or 12 hours of peace and quiet and then go back. Now you can't escape it. And these kids are like, you know, they end up.
Oh yeah. Themselves. I mean, if you've ever seen the comments on my YouTube channel, I mean, I've been told that a video review I did maybe of a phone or some product was so bad that it was not worth the value of my life. And I've had people say, you just need to kill yourself, like kill yourself because that video was filmed so bad in 2012.
YouTube is pretty, I mean, that's one place where that's like the biggest trolls.
Yeah. The fat shaming that I've endured. And thankfully, I didn't used to have a thick skin, but YouTube has made it so that stuff just rolls off my back. But I can't imagine being an 8-year-old or a young child going through that experience without having some sort of.
Now you kind of get it because you're kind of suffocated. You can't. I mean, how do you escape it if your life's in school and then you're getting attacked when you're trying to go? I mean, it used to be people go to TV to escape a little bit. Well, the people go to the internet to escape, but you're getting attacked. And the thing that you're looking for a little bit of escapism from, I mean, you're screwed. So,
and then this mentality that is what you're supposed to do. Like I had somebody write me being really ugly to me on Twitter and just being a shit about something. And I wrote them back and I said, you know, something along the lines of, is this really the most constructive use of your time, number one? And is this, I mean, this is what you do. You just go around shitting on people on Twitter. And he's like, well, that's what you do on Twitter. That's you shit on people on Twitter. You bully them and shit on them. And I'm like, so hold on. Your expectation of the society standards is that this is the medium where we go to shit on people. And that's your constructive contribution to life. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so and I was really nice in how I pulled this off and got this troll converted. And it worked, actually, at least as far as I know, with his relation to me. I don't know if he just went on shitting on other people, but I said, look, that's not what Twitter's for. Twitter is a constructive thing, or it can be, you know, it can be used as a tool for good or evil. So we need to use it for good to, you know, remake our societies, maybe overthrow bad governments, expose abuses in our society, like the Me Too movement. You know, to build a better society in a higher cerebral use world where we come together as mankind and recognize each other as human beings. And you can make your own John Lennon Imagine Kumbaya song here, because I love that song. But you know, this is supposed to be a world, a medium to elevate it. This isn't a medium of hate, although, you know, we now see that there are people that are using that. Especially people that came to the forefront from our recent diversion in politics, that you know, hate is still alive and anger and medium.
Well, but there's just too much anonymity. I mean, if they could remove some, I mean, it's all great to be anonymous, but not if you're going to be a troll. I don't think you should. I think we should all be. But celebrities are, everybody else is so accountable for what they say. And all of a sudden, you get a troll come up that's got some shill account. And they can go say,
or you get a president who can say anything he wants, including the assault of women, and they give him the presidency.
But at least in that case, he's open to criticism and attack. When you're,
I'm not sure he's open to it. He's sending cease and desist letters to people.
Right, but I mean, at least in that case, we know who it is, and there's all sorts of people that can do whatever they want.
That's true.
But when you're getting trolled by a bunch of people that are just hiding behind the anonymity of the internet, I mean, I don't think that's.
I don't know, Phil. I would actually, I would actually come back at you with the argument that I think that makes it worse. An anonymous troll that we don't know who he is. You know, I always hold the imagination that he's in his mom's basement and he has no life. He hasn't ever seen a vagina, a woman naked in his life. And he's just really angry about that. And he's spewing his anger on the thing. You know, the world hasn't turned into Star Trek yet. So he's just really angry. For me, knowing that a person, whether they're a star, whether a politician, can spew that venom sets a very powerful precedent. I mean, when I grew up, I looked at the president as being a great man. And I was too young to understand politics or left or right or any of that sort of shit. You just get taught in elementary school that he's the president. You're like, ooh, I want to grow up and be like, you know, your parents even tell you, you know, you can, if you do things right, you can grow up and be the president. I actually think it's worse that people know who some of these trolls are when they're like that in social media, because
don't you think it would be behavior? You were starting to troll and somebody knew who it was, and that was a permanent part of your record. You would do it less because you'd bring shame on your family. You'd be able to have that as a record, maybe not get hired because people don't want to hire bullies. I think it would change behavior a lot if you weren't. That's not going to change it.
I got to disagree with you, because if you look at, like, I'm thinking of some of the women who showed up at the MAGA events wearing Donald Trump can grab my pussy, and they're pointing down, and you're like, when did we transcend societal decency? You know, where we've turned someone who's a sexual predator into a great person, and they're awesome and we love them. When did that become that thing, that reality TV sort of experience where we're cheering for the shithead on Survivor who turns on everybody and sells everybody out, and we're like, yes, let's, that moral competency or lack thereof, let's champion that as being awesome. You know, so I'd have to diverge with you on that point, where someone can use the point of power.
Opinions. I just think people are more ballsy when they're hiding behind. A lot of people, it's like anything. When you go face to face, when you're face to face with somebody, it's like, man, I get people that are on email over the phone. See if you're going to say that when we meet in person. Everybody's calmer and more gentle in some cases, but you're right. In some cases, it wouldn't make a difference.
And you know, someone should make that point. Someone should make that point, because certainly our president and other people that are rock stars or stars on social media, known that troll people on a regular basis. You know, I was always sitting there watching, I think when Donald Trump was, and I don't want to get into politics. I'm looking at the theory and the aspect of it, but I would have loved to have seen when Barack Obama first introduced Trump to the White House and they had those initial meetings that you saw in the press. If they would have had it out, if Trump would have said, like, let's see your birth certificate, and, you know, Obama hit him in the face or something. You know, and you're right. I mean, certainly something, I've met people that have trolled me in real life at a convention, and they'll come up to me and they'll be like, hey, how's it going? Let's get a picture with you. And I'm like, fuck you.
Right.
I know who the fuck you are. Fuck you. Why don't you take your shit and roll it down the hill? And they're just like, oh, I was just trolling you because that's what everyone does on Twitter. And I think that's where our real problem is that we're looking at a lot of these tools and we're not using them for good. And what's sad is we're not recognizing that we're using them for evil or moral.
You got hit in the gut, right? You got hit in the gut when you're in your thing and your skin got thicker. But imagine if you got that stuff when you were a young kid. It's just not fair. I mean, I can't. Bullying stuff and I think those kids should be exposed and they should follow you, and we should know stuff. And, you know,
I really do believe, although I do have to tell you, one of the worst things that ever happened on my YouTube channel was when they forced everybody to use Google Plus so that they can identify them.
Yes.
And that wiped out my comments, that wiped out my trolls. And I realized how much I really won't love those trolls.
How much you really loved them?
Well, I loved them for the money.
Because there was some engagement or something like that? Or?
Yeah, the nice thing about YouTube is if you wanted to come and say what a piece of crap Chris Voss was, the ad would roll and I get paid.
Oh,
and I'm
like,
well, if you call me an asshole, that's fine, but I just made $2 off.
Right.
So who really wins now? And, you know, they would keep coming back and they'd be like, Chris Voss is an asshole. And they keep coming back and doing the comments and rolling the video again every time we come back in comments, and I loved it. I'd have people call me up and be like, hey, do you know there's like a nuclear war on your iPhone versus Android video? And I'm like, yeah, it's really cool. I'm watching my bank account right now and it's just filling. And so, yeah, whatever the fuck they want to do, have fun with that shit.
Right.
But when they came out with the identification thing and forcing everybody to get Google Plus, that just killed my channel's money and killed my views.
I didn't think of it like that, but okay.
It was just really destructive. And I got to a point where I was fine with it. But, you know, with Twitter, I don't make any money off of that. And where people can look at Twitter and go, how can we use this for evil? And like I say, my biggest problem is not so much that we've become a society where we're looking at stuff as how can this tool be used for good and evil, but we have morally bankrupted ourselves to a point where we're like, trolling people is fun and that's what you should do and you can get successful. And if you troll someone for 8 years about their racist stance of where their birth certificate is, we'll award you the presidency. That sets a standard of expectations in our world that we need to really take a step back, and maybe we did have to go that low to zig and zag, and step back and go, what the fuck, what do we do? And I think that's hopefully where we're at in America, where we're like, we need to go back to a moral equivalency of decency and really go, what is decent, what is not. I'm hoping that movements like Me Too movements, and then there's another 300 actresses that just came out with a new movement that comes out of Me Too, that hopefully will be a standard bearer and a line in the sand for some of the evil people in this world that abuse power and abuse women, and not just women, but also men. But hopefully we're bringing that to a better mark. I've had a lot of women on the show recently, a lot of women coaching and making women help with empowerment and overcome some of the challenges that they face in trying to start their own businesses. And so hopefully this creates a new world where we'll look at some of the zigs and zags that we've done with this and go, how can we use this tool for good? Twitter has so much power. YouTube has so much power to change the world and make it a better place. And somehow we've got to get there. Or not. And I guess we'll find out what that is. Yeah. We'll find out what it is when North Korea's yeah. So anyway, sorry for sidelining into politics and all. So, but really, I mean, this is the state of the world and where we're coming to, and what we have to deal with in the future. So, I mean, you've got to apply that stuff to, I don't know, where you buy ads from, I guess.
Yeah, because the social stuff is it's social, and it's where it's more emotional, but it's where people hang out. There's more opinions. I think when you get back onto your website and content, everybody's kind of put their best thing forward, and there's a lot less of that stuff. But when you get back into the social world, which is part of the whole digital thing, it's a lot more emotional. And you get stuff up in there.
And to tie what we're talking about in SEO and everything, this ties into the whole discussion that I segued into. You know, advertisers right now have said to YouTube, look, you need to make sure that we don't have some of these different elements that we don't want to be associated with. I've been suffering from the same problem with SEO that a lot of people are complaining about. I forget his one name, the one big video blogger who's really good, Casey Neistat. I think it is Neistat. We've been having this thing where every video that I publish immediately gets slapped with a we're not sure this is suitable for advertisers. And I have to go and say, yes, it is. And I've actually had to make sure, unfortunately, I failed in this video horribly. And the one I did earlier today, I got to knock it off. But anytime I let one swear word slip in a video,
swear word,
hit with that thing. And so now advertisers like Disney and other ones are going to YouTube and saying, you know, we don't want swear words, which I think is some of the idiocy of the CEO of YouTube. I'm going to say that out loud. You know, and everyone swears. I mean, even Tony Robbins swears nowadays. It's pretty common. I mean, we don't need to create a Mormon-based YouTube channel. If we do, they can go start their own because they have plenty of money. So, and we don't need to have a video cult. They can go do that on their own, which I think they do too. So, you know, advertisers are putting up a stance, and they're starting to get aware that there's certain things that they don't want to see in videos, like Nazism and bashing Jews and Holocaust, racism. I think it's awesome. You know, I do believe in free speech, and Twitter's had this real problem with free speech where they're like, well, you know, we can't make people's identities because then they can be persecuted in a country and put in, you know, the gallows, or they can be put into secret police prisons of torture. And so there's a higher cause that we have to have, but then you have the troll problem and a system where, you know, white racism and KKKism and the alt-right can rise up, and suddenly we find them marching and killing people in Charlottesville, and you're just like, where did this come from? And it's like, well, you know, we were cultivating it the whole time by giving it so much rope. And so, yeah, I think now the big thing you have to look at if you're doing SEO and working with advertisers and what advertisers want, and probably how you're going to rank, is how clean is the content that you have, how advertiser friendly maybe is it. Now, like I say, I've had to change my tune. I've had to do videos now where I'm like, don't swear, don't swear, don't swear, don't swear.
Yeah.
You know, don't talk about sexual stuff, maybe, or make sex jokes, even though it's comedy. And of course, that's dying now as well. You know, and so as a content maker, and me being advertising appealing with my content, I've had to start looking hard at what we're doing and how we're doing it, and whether or not I'm going to get ads for it.
Yeah. Really, to be honest, too, I mean, you got to kind of take a neutral stance, even though some people don't, but especially in social media. I mean, business-wise, you see a lot of the guys who are succeeding influencer-wise, they don't get tipped their hand much on political stuff, because it just turns too many people off or on, or you don't have the right opinion, or maybe you're not radical enough. Even if you're on the right side, you're just not, you know, it's just too wild. Well, so you got to be careful.
Really well with it. Like the Young Turks. I mean, the Young Turks have been getting huge funding and VC money now. I think they did $100 million deal or something. I mean, there's certain channels that have been able to get away with it. But even then, I mean, these advertisers are being really succinct nowadays, especially with YouTube, and saying there's a certain amount of there's certain content we want that's clean and ethical and moral, and there's a moral compass. And like I said, maybe we did need to go through this zigzag where we found ourselves entrenched with some vile parts of the dark internet, and we need to come pulling back and go, we need to start using this for good now.
Something. I mean, I think you're right. Everybody's kind of waking up to it. I think some stuff has got to change. Yeah. But I mean, I certainly woke up to Charlottesville. I'm like, what? There's hundreds of guys. There's hundreds of these guys. What? Right. And you know, maybe, and it probably was good that we went through this dichotomy of realizing that racism still is around, and very largely, and some of those white folks were asleep that were going, I'm pretty sure we beat that because we had a black president. Turns out we didn't. And it's still very angry and very alive. And so I think it's good that a lot of this stuff's getting cleaned up. I mean, SEO, you've got to start looking at what you're advertising, what you're talking about, what your brand is about, what your brand's talking about. And I think if you're doing politics, as long as you know it well and go balls out and create an audience like the Young Turks. I know there's a lot of conservative podcasters that are on YouTube, and they do have a huge following. They're like the mini Rush Limbaughs of the world. They're like niching out in just that one area. Mm-hmm. But for most business owners I have, their clients are you don't call a plumber and you're not going to serve him because he's not a Republican or a Democrat or libertarian. I mean, but I mean, if you had that messaging on your website, you would. I mean, why? It's like why ask type of a thing. It's just like
it is kind of an interesting thing though, because there are doctors now reporting a bit of racism where there are people that refuse to be, get medication or work or be evaluated in exams because of a certain person's race. They're actually coming out feeling emboldened to do that. So it's kind of interesting because it is transcending into business, even though you're trying to, say, I don't want to do this, but I don't know. It's a weird freaking world going on right now.
It is. It's weird. I think people can't help themselves on social media because when they feel passionate about something, they'll tip their hand. All of a sudden, that's why I think social's a tricky place, because it's the one place where you're going to get, you just got some of your personal feelings, but there's a little bit of mixing in with some of the business stuff too sometimes. And I do think some people, some businesses got to be careful with that, unless, like you say, that's their niche. I mean, if you're going after and you're a podcaster and you're going after conservatives or radical this or liberal that, then that's your thing. But if you're like a regular business owner that's usually not trying to target anybody politically or for some other type of belief, then you got to be careful sometimes, and not, because it's so easy.
You have to really be careful. I mean, even before I got into politics, every now and then, you know, I was never a big Obama fan. I voted from the first term and didn't vote from the second term. I felt like the change he promised, he really betrayed. And I was never really, you know, really happy with him. You know, there's a couple things he'd do, but there were some times where I'd forward an article or retweet an article about one thing or another, left or right. And suddenly I get this onslaught of people going, you're this fan and you're that fan. And you're just like, I can't win with you people.
Right.
It's like,
right. I retweet. You really want to always know what some of your favorite brands are. Some of the, it's just all of a sudden it's going to ruin it. I was like, don't even.
I tried and be centralist for a long time, where I just try and be like, okay, we're not going to piss anybody off. We're not going to do politics. But then somebody would just feed into something. And it's kind of an experience I had on Facebook where I started putting LOL on stuff that I would do that had a nuance of comedy to it, or a nuance of snarkiness to it. And people would be like, why do you put LOL on stuff? And then someone would get angry and call me a thing on how stupid it was. And I'm like, did you not read the LOL? And I'd be like, that's why I put LOL on stuff, because people don't get innuendo on the nuance of it in writing on Twitter. So
one of the things I've done last year is, it didn't matter if anybody posts things political, I just unfollow. I don't care what it is. If it's what side or the other, if I believe in it, if I don't believe in it, I just don't want to see anything political in any of my feeds. And I don't know if other people are doing that or not, but because most people that are doing it are like, it's the same groups. It's all they're wanting to talk about and fight. It's like, I don't want to see that. I want to like learn stuff and move forward, and you know, I'll make the decisions. And that's me. Other people are into it. That's what they do all the time. So that's
a lot of people did that. A lot of people tuned out, and they're just like, I'm unfollowing all my political friends, and I can't deal with it. And we kind of reached.
It's too polar right now. Well, I get pissed off all the time. We got to move forward in life, and you got families and careers and things, and you know, we'll do our best. Not like you don't want things to change one way or the other, but I mean, there's times to do that. At some point, you actually got to work on yourself and your own family and your own business, and not get.
It can be all consuming.
Exactly. If you want to keep your brain there all the time, it's just going to hold you back from doing other things. I mean, there's time to change stuff, and there's certain things I'm still passionate about, you know, at my, you know, whatever it is, to volunteer, contribute, and that kind of thing. But yeah, man, the political stuff is just, I got to tune it back in when it's, when I can make a decision on something, we'll tune it back out, you know, when it's between seasons.
So getting back to SEO, what do you see as the future of I don't know, internet advertising? What do you see as the future where we're going?
I still think no matter what, I still think we're in the early ages of inbound marketing. I think your website's really important. I think making that the referral source for all your content's really important. So I'm against anybody taking their best content and always putting it all just on third-party platforms. I think you should publish on your site first and make everybody come back to the extent that you can, versus just only publishing on third-party places where it's theirs or where it kind of dies in that time. So
there's
like,
still a lot
for
of people
example,
that are saying blogging is dying. And how do you feel about that? Because there's a lot of people written stuff about that.
Google searches organically went from 3.5 million searches a day in 2014 to 5.5 searches a day in 2016. So people are searching more and more and more and more, and more content goes on the internet. They're reading it somewhere. So your post and your stuff is where you post it on your own website. It becomes your asset. If you're posting your best content on Facebook, then it becomes their asset. So why wouldn't you post on your own website, share it on Facebook, make people come back to it for the rest of the stuff where they come to? So I don't think it's really dead
and
at all.
It seems like to me that it would become even more so search because trying to do some sort of searchable. I think Walmart's working with Sony or some crap. And to me, I could see that that's going to increase searches because people go like, hey, Google, what is whatever.
Well, it's not just that. There's an opportunity for people that have websites to create content that can be the answer for some of these. So I've got on my own website, I've got blog posts that are starting to come up as the knowledge boxes. So, when you'll search something right now, you'll see a big opening thing where the answer is like right there. And so you don't have to leave Google to see it. Well, there's ways to put that on your make your website. So in some cases, people are just getting huge windfalls of traffic because they're investing back in their website into blog posts, making good, long, high quality answers and growing their website out that way. And they're getting it back for two ways. They're getting lots more exposure on traditional search, but those knowledge box answers are the basis for a lot of the voice searches. They're reading those off. So there's a wide open field right now for people and that's why I actually developed my own WordPress plugin that's for schema, which enables you to go in there and tag your data, which gives you more of a chance to show up as those, they call them rich results. And it works, man. I mean, but then we were talking in the green room beforehand, how I think what I do for blogging is we like to, blog in series of 10 or 15 blog posts. So each one of them is a standalone blog post. It grows out our website. We can target individual keywords, but we do so in a way that like the table of contents, so we can stitch it together into an ebook. Now, if I just did 15 blog posts over 15 weeks randomly on good topics, that would be good, but I wouldn't be able to stitch that together because it would look like it wouldn't make any sense. But if you put some thought into it and create a how-to book, all of a sudden at the end of 10 or 15 weeks, you got a great ebook, becomes a call to action on your website. You already grew your site out in terms of more pages, again, where you can target stuff and take advantage of some of this voice search stuff and rich snippet things. Then you can turn that ebook as a call to action on your website. You can actually turn it into a Kindle, become an author up on Amazon. And all of a sudden you can get backlinks from your author page back to your website from Amazon. Great thing. Then you can then use that ebook to do things like I'm doing, a podcasting campaign. I've been booked on probably at least 50 podcasts in 2017. Great way for me to leverage audiences on folks like you. You've worked a large part of your digital career in building your own audience and great contact. I'm able, because I went and invested in my own personal brand and my own book writing, I'm able to leverage that to get on your show and get in front of your trusted audience. And all of a sudden, all your years of building this up in a 1 hour period, I get the benefit of doing that. Yep. So this is a great way where, if you think about it, you can actually build this back from just simple blog posting on your website, right? Yeah. Roll it into it, start leveraging to
build more audience, and the circle goes around.
Exactly.
Is there any way
it still works? Does it work? Is it dead? I don't think so, man. And not for me, it isn't.
Yeah. I've always wondered, is there any way to SEO better so that when people are asking their Google Homes, their Alexas for data, that you can somehow gear yourself to come up better on maybe those verbal searches that are going on?
You can, I think the target is to try and get your content or your answer good enough so that it ranks in that knowledge box, because a lot of those knowledge boxes are what's coming up in a voice search answer. So that's the key right now. Will it change? Will it be different? I don't know. But a lot of times you'll see like a recipe or whatever it is. A lot of that stuff's now starting to be fed into what comes back because they have to pick something. But the problem with voice search is they're really trying to match you with a solution to a question, give you the best thing. Whereas most of what Google is you're able to scan and pick your best couple ones. Whereas voice search, you're basically just getting one, which is why I think regular search is never going to die. I mean, we're always going to want to go through and filter and see some way to get more solutions and pick our best answer. But
I've just always kind of wondered how to game that. Like I noticed I was going through a period where after my dog had passed, I was listening to a lot of piano music, solo piano music, and I was trying to, use that to meditate. And I was asking, I won't say it because I triggered it earlier, but I was asking the device to get me solo piano music. And I noticed that it was playing the same YouTube videos every time. And Google Home actually goes to YouTube and they've got it set up where they've got the playlists on there. I don't know how they chose them, or if they're chosen, or if it's just randomly still searching. But I'm like, somebody on YouTube is making a lot of money off this because it's going to the same video every time I say solo piano music. And so I was really curious how I could game that SEO wise or with tags in YouTube.
We'll try it one time. I've got one. So I got a bunch of them. But if you ask them what is SERP stacking, one of my blog posts comes up for that. It should read you that answer, but I've actually never tested that myself. I know it comes up consistently as the knowledge box for that, but I'm gonna actually test that myself.
Because I'm really interested in that, because somebody on Google when I ask for playlists like in music and stuff, it will play like people's videos, and I'm like, somebody's making money on this on YouTube that I'm playing their video, and I don't think they have any idea, or they've even geared their tags to have this come up. But I'm really curious about it. I know chatbots have been really popular. Jesus Christ, everybody's making a chatbot, and there's a chatbot expert these days.
It seems to die down a little bit, but it's still hot. I mean, for a few weeks, it was like, stop talking about chatbots, please. Yeah. It was like chatbot. Everything's chatbots. It was like a month.
As bad as Bitcoin experts now. You're just like, really?
Oh, man. Whatever that one guy is. What's that guy? The JP Awakening. Did you ever see that one where he's the spoof on?
Oh, yeah.
That one. So I've watched that a couple times. It makes me die laughing.
Yeah, that guy's funny as hell. It's kind of funny. I actually went and wanted to see what his original work looked like when he started out and no one was watching his videos. And it pretty much was the same sort of character he was playing. He's refined it a little bit, but it really was that same sort of character that he was playing when he started out. And he just played it out and it became popular. So
I didn't really know much about him. That Bitcoin one that I saw recently just made me a fan forever, because I was like, that's everybody.
So it's kind of interesting. Let me know if you come up with a way to game Alexa and Google Home to play your stuff. Hey Google, read an article from the ChrisVossShow.com. I don't know what.
Oops. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry.
She's like, screw that channel. That's what she said.
That's awesome. I didn't realize it was.
Well, Phil, we'll wrap the show and let you go. It looks like you got some stuff to do there, but it was great to have you, and a great discussion, I think, as well as what's going on with society, SEO, and advertising, and hopefully maybe somewhat the future as well. We'll have to have you on again. So give us your plugs once more, Phil, so people can find you on the interwebs.
Yeah, definitely go check out SEOforgrowth.com. That's our Amazon best-selling book on SEO. It's not real super deep on technical stuff. It's really more just to kind of help. It's really, the full name of the book is SEO for Growth. The ultimate guide to SEO for web designers, entrepreneurs, and marketers. So it's really meant to be kind of that surface level thing to tie everyone together. Not like this book right here, The Art of SEO. See how
holy crap!
It's 1,000 pages of highly technical stuff. Our SEO for Growth book is really more layman's terms type stuff. And we give this to people to say, look, if you're not going to hire us, hire somebody else, read this. It'll get your head around it, and you can do it yourself. I mean, literally. In the back of the book, I give here's all the tactics you need to do, and this is exactly what you would pay us for. If you want to do it yourself, go ahead. It's all there. But just do it and just read it. You'll understand SEO better than 99.9% of the people that are out there.
Sounds good. They can go to Amazon and pick that baby up, or probably their local bookstore.
KCWebdesigner.com is my home base. So check me out there. My new podcast back here. Can't see if you can read it off. Local Business Leaders is launching next week. So check me out there, dude.
Sounds good, Phil. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for my audience for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it, guys. Be sure to refer the show to your friends, neighbors, relatives, dogs, cats, cousins, pool boys, mistresses, all that good stuff. Get them in the show. And be sure to go to iTunes and subscribe there. You can also subscribe on Google Play. If you haven't already, go to TuneIn app. You can also go to patreon.com/Chris Voss and go to YouTube. Hit that bell notification button. As always, support the show on YouTube so you get the notifications for the new shows. Thanks to Phil for tuning in. Be sure to check out his links, and we'll see you guys next time.